Hello, everybody. This is Denise Parker, Internships and Careers Director for National College Resources Foundation. Super excited for today's virtual, eh, live session, and also from those who are going to be watching on a previous recording. Welcome to all. This is an awesome conversation we're going to have about transformative conversations, the art of concise storytelling and mastering the gift of public speaking. We have our special guest today who led our first session of the How to Land a Dream Job series, which was Kevin Shephard. This time he brought his partner in crime, who's also another phenomenal man, Mr. Jordan Johnson. You guys say hello to everybody.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to the workshop.
Yay. So before we get started, I did want to just shout out to our wonderful guests that are all on our live, saying thank you guys for joining us. If you follow us at ncrfoundation.org, you can at NCR Foundation. You can go on Twitter, on all the socials, IG, Instagram, Facebook, or Meta, and you can find all the wonderful places where you guys can join our platforms. And then our website is www.ncrfoundation.org. I am also going to be placing in the chat some wonderful links. I'm going to share the screen. Yes, thank you. I'm going to share the screen in just a hot second where we have a wonderful platform called Matchplicity. Can you guys see that? Wonderful. It's Matchplicity is our community-based networking and hiring platform that actually helps you get connected to recruiters and opportunities through our NCRF network. So we have plenty of job postings, scholarships, virtual and live events that are happening. We also are growing this platform. It's brand new, and we want to make sure that you guys have access to it. If you would, you could click on talent and then fill out a profile so that we can send you stuff all the time. It'll be part of our database so that you can have access to information that's such as our How to Land a Dream Job series. I'll put the link in the chat for you guys, and we will get started with some normal programming. And then also I want to share with you guys real quick. Let me put this in the chat for you guys. There you go. I'm going to share with you our Matchplicity. I'm trying to move faster, but I can't move faster. Okay, there it is. This is another virtual event workshop series that we have for our student athletes. It's our virtual recruiting seminars coming up very soon. December 8th is our session 2. Are you a 5-star athlete? I think this will be an awesome opportunity for you to learn from our student athlete program, our SAP program. It's very robust. It helps help you get to that level where you can be recruited and be on a collegiate and eventually a professional level if you're interested in being an athlete. Share it with your family and friends. I will also put that link in the chat for you. And then our final thing, let me put this in the chat for you. And you guys can type in the chat if you have any questions when I'm sharing these things before we get started. And then our final thing for you guys is an opportunity for you to learn more about us and ways that you can support everything. Pretty much all our programming is for free. And as I'm linking through, can you guys see me? And thank you. All our programming is for free. So that being said, we do offer a wonderful chance for you to be a part of our platform. And so therefore, we love donations. And if oh, Gigi, can you mute yourself real quick? If you wouldn't mind checking out our links in the chat and also having an opportunity to donate, this would be great. There's no pressure. Everything is, whatever you can give is up to you, but it makes a difference. We service over 200,000 students a year, and we also do live events in person called our Black College and Latino College Expos. So and our STEAM events and our student athlete events. So there's an opportunity for you to gain more opportunities and resources. And that being said, I'm going to turn the floor over to our wonderful special guests, Kevin and Jordan.
All right, all right. How y'all doing? Definitely want to just say welcome to everybody that is within this call, within this workshop. Um, it's a privilege and an honor to be here, especially alongside, my cousin. Uh, Me and Jordan are actually family. We grew up together since diapers. So this is a special moment for sure. First workshop together. But yeah, today is transformative conversations, and it's going to be a very in-depth conversation, I will say. We'll dive deep into various topics, from curiosity, mentorship, obstacles, and all of that. But before we get into the conversation, I do want to say I feel that speaking is a calling. Right, this isn't something that me or Jordan do for money or monetary gain. This is something that you have a feeling, because for me, it really didn't, I didn't grow up wanting to be a speaker, right? I think it just, upon my journey, it just kind of led me to like knowing that my story is valuable enough to share with students and faculty and organizations. So it's an honor again just to be here. But let me go ahead. Oh, Jordan, you want to say something real quick while I'm pulling up the PowerPoint?
Man, to go off what you said, yeah, I'm super grateful and thankful to be here. Appreciate you guys for attending. And my main goal is hopefully I'm able to shift at least one perspective on this Zoom call. So I'm excited and I hope y'all enjoy.
Most definitely, most definitely. Yeah, I think we're gonna shift a lot more than one, man. I'm not gonna lie. PowerPoint is beautiful. Get it to full view. Um, all right. So again, transformative conversations hosted by us, me and Jordan, and brought to you by the NCRF, our family. Thank you for coming, y'all. So today, the session objective will be pretty much curating a new narrative for better networking and conversation skills. These are two things that I didn't have prior to me stepping into the entrepreneurship world. I was more so of to myself, more introverted type of person. But I think learning these two things has helped me reach milestones that I never could imagine. And I'm sure Jordan can agree to that. So we'll teach you guys new tactics, new ways, new practices on how to strengthen those within your life too. Moving to the session breakdown, this is what today will look like. I think we only got you guys for an hour. So we'll go into the introduction, of course, tell you guys a little bit about each of us, my upbringing, his upbringing, what led us to be in front of you today. We'll talk a little on curiosity, what that looks like, from how it's important, how it helps you within your journey, and especially how it caters towards your abilities of a public speaker. We will go into exposure because curiosity is a prerequisite of exposure, and exposing yourself to new ideas, new things, new experiences will always be something that helps you broaden your perspective and become a better speaker as well. I'll take lead in going to being a student, what that looks like, what that means for you, as well as mentorship and how the active mentorship can help push you forward in your journey as well. I'll then I'll let Jordan take lead on obstacles. We're going to obstacles because you're going to face that. That's a given. We all deal with obstacles in life. And then we'll finally bring all of that together and tell you guys how those things helped us within our speaking journey and becoming professional speakers. And lastly, we'll leave room for questions, but I do want to say this is going to be a dialogue. We don't want to talk at you the entire time. We would appreciate if everybody engaged, utilize the chat box, whatever you guys can do to get that question out. We can't get to the question within that moment. It's fine. We'll get to it at the end, but we'll try to answer our questions along the way. And let's see. All right, y'all ready? Let's get into it, man. Jay, I'll let you take lead on telling them about yourself.
Oh man, I get the honor of going first. That's crazy. All right, y'all. So I'm Jordan Johnson, a former student athlete, the author of The Sports Tunnel, Every Athlete Dies Twice, and I'm a speaker as well. For me, my foundation of my life results from sports. I've been a hooper my entire life, right? So from the age of 4 to 24 years old, I found myself living in this mindset that all I had in this world was a ball and a dream. And that ended January 4th, 2020. Um, 2020, that was a date where I went through a traumatic injury during a game where my femur broke through my hip socket. And that kind of flipped my entire world upside down. So from 4 to 24 years old, that's 20 years of my life that really vanished in a matter of 3 to 5 seconds. But that situation or that circumstance kind of pushed me into a stage of life where I had to reevaluate everything around me, so I had to reevaluate what my true identity, purpose, and value was in this world. So after overcoming, depression, hopelessness, and just questioning God so much, I came to this stage of having to reinvent who I was, and I'm honored to be blessed by, number one, God, my ecosystem, and as well as the tools that will communicate with you today, to have accelerated my learning curve within the span of 2020 to current date today. I like to communicate that I've only been living this real reality for about 4 years. And due to the help of the things I just mentioned, within those 4 years, I've been able to invest in real estate, publish my first book, and I speak to a lot of people. And, I just been blessed with opportunities to provide value and an impact. So that's just a little synopsis of who I am.
Now you're not gonna get away, man. Tell them what you just accomplished, man, the other day. Tell them, man.
Oh man, I was blessed with the opportunity to fly out to Washington and speak at Eastern Washington University. So that's really what I do. I speak to student athletes. So that was a major milestone that I never seen coming, but due to exposing myself and just um, man, letting God lead the way, I was blessed with that opportunity. So I'm kind of frustrated that I'm irritated that you put that out there, but it's all good though. I got you.
Come on, man. We gotta be happy about our blessings. We got to. But yeah. Appreciate you breaking all that down, man. A little bit about me. My name is Kevin Shephard. I am a speaker, entrepreneur, but first and foremost, I'm a believer in God. I feel like all that I've encountered throughout my entire journey, there's been times when I had nothing else to rely on other than my faith. And to me, I feel like that's been, truthfully, entrepreneurship has strengthened my faith. Not to go all deep, but yeah, first and foremost, believer in God. I am a father as well. I have a beautiful 4-year-old son. And then I'm an entrepreneur. I actually am in the fashion space. So I'm a brand owner. I own the brand Yang Vibe Clothing. Um, Yang stands for Young and Naturally Grinding. So it's more of an entrepreneurial based brand. I speak to a lot of people who just want to reach the best version of themselves. And I document my process to show people that you don't have to come from, privileged backgrounds, whatever the case may be. And even if you do, it still takes hard work to build an actual company, build a business.
Hello.
So, and aside from that, I honestly was raised,
Okay, man, late.
uh, second. But aside from that, I was raised in Oakland, born in Berkeley, raised in Oakland, and then from there I moved to a more, what word could I use? I'll just say smaller town, just for the sake of not disrespecting this area.
I will
But
let
it was very country, and for me, it made me kind of throw away my hoop dreams. Like I said, me and Jordan grew up together. I'd be lying if I said he wasn't an influence on me, and I truly thought I was going to lead down that path of basketball as well. But moving from a bigger city to a smaller town, it kind of just threw those dreams away, which led me into a depression as well. And I can honestly say I didn't like that feeling, waking up every day upset, not really wanting to talk to anybody at my new school. And it led me to one day just take accountability and say, look, this is not who you are, right? Put out more positivity than negativity. And that led me to just putting a lot of influencing, or not influencing, but inspirational things on social media. And that led to building a community. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was actually building a community because I wasn't the only person that felt that way. And from there, I just kind of merged my natural sense of fashion with that. And now we have Yang Vibe, which I've been able to accomplish a few great things, from partnering with shoe wear giants like Foot Locker, becoming the #1 selling brand within their stores, and then being highlighted this Black History Month by Bloomingdale's. So they put up a collection in the Lenox Mall in ATL, which was, again, just a blessing from God. So it's a little bit about me. Let me see.
Dive into it.
Yes, sir. Curiosity is you.
Curiosity, man, a major tool for me on this journey and at this stage of life. But before I mention what curiosity is to me, I just want to give you guys, 1 to 2 minutes, and I'll put a timer on to allow you guys opportunity to say, what curiosity is to you. So you can utilize the chat, or maybe you got a notebook next to you, but I'm gonna put this timer on. I gotta get active in this chat, man. Let me see.
Okay, you see you have exploration. Curiosity is exploration for somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, Dalen West said exploration.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Ten more seconds.
What comes to mind when you hear the word curiosity?
Discovering the unknown.
There we go.
I see curiosity is something that makes me wonder about anything, exploring many tools others don't want to, and etc.
Mm,
It's not.
Having interest in others and the world around us.
I like that one. That's a good one.
These are great.
Sure.
They all stem from this exploration. I love it.
Man. Okay. So I'll let you guys know what curiosity is to me. A spark. Okay. I like that one. So for me personally, curiosity is not only a tool, but it's a superpower. And that's something that I discovered along my journey. But in order to understand the tool of curiosity, you first have to understand this diagram, the circle of competence. I believe that this circle of competence emulates the real world, because when you look at this diagram, you see that that small circle in the middle is what you know, right? So in the midst of all the information, knowledge, people, places, and things, this super small portion on this diagram resembles what you know. So it's interesting because I find that this small circle is a common space that we find ourselves in, because essentially it's what's familiar to us. Your circle of competence can be seen as your environment, your family, your background, the schools you go to, or anything like that. But again, it's what's familiar to you. So one of the pivotal moments in my life was that understanding this diagram in my life helped me understand a lot about myself. So again, going back to my hoop journey, I was around thousands, if not millions of people within my 20 years of being a basketball player. But my lack of curiosity and need to stay comfortable limited my access. So once I made that shift of reinventing myself in this world, I was forced to step into that gray area, that area of what we think we know but don't know. And then eventually I started to step into that black area, and then I started to step beyond the black area to reach new levels of myself. So when we step into that gray area, once you make that shift in your mind, when you step in that gray area of what we think we know, I instantly think of fake it till you make it. right? I'm sure a lot of us have heard the fake it till you make it phrase. But I believe a lot of times when we navigate that gray space, there's a lot of ego in that, right? We have this facade, or we have this mask about us because we think we know, but really we don't know. So my mentor, he communicated to me one time that you can't trust a person that is afraid to admit that they don't know, because there's no way that you could possibly know everything, as you can see from this diagram, right? So using this tool, you have to substitute that mask or that ego during that gray space, or when you decide to step beyond the gray space, you have to substitute that mask with curiosity. And that's why I say curiosity is a tool. Because I know for me personally, I mentioned my mentors a lot, but another thing I learned from them is that you always have to navigate the world with childlike curiosity. And I never knew what that meant when they would tell me this. So I'm not sure how much time you guys spend with children, or how many people on this Zoom have children, but the more you're around children, you understand that they ask hundreds of questions to the point where it's almost irritating. But it's because they're in this constant discovery mode, right? So curiosity is essentially staying in that discovery mode. So again, once you make that switch, you have to understand that you'll continue to discover and you'll continue to explore. So on top of that, I would like to mention that curiosity is two more things. After looking at this diagram, you understand that curiosity is the magnet between yourself and the unfamiliar, right? So the familiar is a small circle. The gray is the unfamiliar, but we have to utilize curiosity to get us to that point, number one. Number two, I know Kevin touched on it previously, but curiosity is the prerequisite to exposure. And that brings me to the exposure slide.
You mind if I touch on curiosity real quick?
Please do.
Yeah, because I feel like, man, it's gonna seem like I'm literally just regurgitating what you just said. But to me, curiosity is the discovery of the unknown, or better yet, is just having the willingness to discover like the areas of life that you're unfamiliar with, right? And that helps you grow mentally, physically, emotionally, and all of that. And I literally, to your point of children having childlike curiosity, I love that, because I kid you not, there's times when I drive my son to school in the morning, and it used to bug me how many questions he asks. Like I said, he's 4 years old. So anybody who either has siblings or has children, you understand that's that age where they are just, they're a lot, right? And it's question after question. And I had to check myself personally, because I was just like, you know what? It was one day, I think I was on a business call, and he just kept asking me, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I was like, baby, please, like, just wait. But after I got off the call, I explained to him what it was. And I think it took for him to one day repeat what I had taught him that day out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, wait, me limiting your curiosity is limiting your ability to grow mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't pour into that, if I don't encourage that, it's going to kind of put him in a place where he thinks that that's a bad thing. So I love the fact that you mentioned that. And I will say this, we'll go into this a little deeper along this whole segment, but it kind of taught me something. It showed me that you can learn even from a 4-year-old, right? Because I try to carry that same exact level of childlike curiosity now that I maneuver through this world. I never feel like it's too many questions that I'm asking, right? I'm very unapologetic when it comes to gaining knowledge. And I think that helps you gain a strong interest in people and overall life. So I just want to touch on that before you headed to the exposure side.
But I got a question for you, because you just sparked something in mind. So what do you think is an obstacle that blocks curiosity? Because a lot of times, you said you have, like, you'll ask countless questions, but a lot of times you might step into these rooms where you don't want to ask questions for X, Y, and Z reasons. So I'll say, like, if you could list maybe one obstacle that you've encountered that blocks your curiosity.
I would say lack of I would say trying to get an A. Like if you're always not trying to be wrong or come off as like annoying or whatever, like if you care too much about what other people think about you, I think that can easily block curiosity. And I think if you're, like I said, unapologetic in your learning when it comes to your knowledge, you can't really play around with that. I don't care how you feel. I'm going to ask this question because I'm sure we all heard closed mouth do not get fed. So yeah, I would say caring too much about what others think or trying to get an A in life.
I like that one. That's dope. I like that one. But yeah, we could go to the exposure slide. So again, curiosity is the prerequisite to exposure. So on this one, I'll do the same thing I did on the first slide. Exposure is, and I'll give you guys a minute or two to just type in the chat, what is exposure to you? I'll set the timer. Being seen, opportunity. Exposure is opportunity. That's a good one. Opening up, showing your humanity and your skills. To be seen with your vulnerabilities. That person was looking at the slide for sure. Getting known, peeling off layers of your true self. Awareness. Okay. Those are dope. I like those ones. So for me, exposure is essential for elevation. And I say that because I personally believe that your level of success is determined by what you expose yourself to. So again, going back to the sport analogy, people used to always say, you know, if you can't play the game, there's going to be a point in time where you'll be exposed. And the context behind that is that they're referring to a time where you're going to be in isolation one day in the game, right? And it's going to be just you, your abilities, and your opponent. No teammates, no help, or nothing. And as a result, you'll be left vulnerable. So then I looked into this word vulnerability and I looked up what it meant. And I seen the definition of capable of or susceptible to being harmed, hurt, or influenced physically or emotionally. And I think it's important to understand what vulnerability meant because it's connected to exposure. So with that definition, we understand that the things that we expose ourselves to are falling into these three buckets. They're either harming you, they're either attacking you, or they're influencing you. And I think you have to ask yourself, you know, look at your day-to-day life and ask yourself, what are you exposing yourself to? And what buckets do those things fall into? Now, when you look at the bucket of harm, I feel as if harm, it has a negative connotation, right? Harm is harm. We all know that. But the last two buckets, I feel as if it just depends on your perspective. It's relative, right? Because attack can have a negative connotation, but when we look at medicine, we all have taken medicine. When you take medicine, it attacks the virus within your body, ultimately being a good or a positive, right? So that's attack. And then there's influence, right? You can either be influenced negatively or positively. So I think when we look at these buckets, we have to try to expose ourselves to the positive connotations of these words. So I had a video here, and it was President Barack, and he was basically mentioning, you know, when you get into these rooms and you start getting around people of higher calibers that come from different backgrounds, we place them on a pedestal. right? And we like, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's a president, or whether you're rich, we place these people on pedestals. And I thought that was important to place into this exposure slide, because a lot of times when we expose ourselves to what's unfamiliar, we oftentimes come across people and things that are unfamiliar. And sometimes it's easy to place these people on pedestals. But the result of placing a person on a pedestal is that you might suffer from this imposter syndrome, or you might suffer from this feeling of being inferior. So when I listen to this video, I'm like, man,
Well, here's a Hail Mary of a shot.
he got it on 50, volume 50. But I thought this video was powerful because it gives you the mindset that you need when it comes to, networking and really having conversations with strangers. Because once you take the person off of the pedestal, you understand that these are just humans. And humans, one thing that I've learned along my journey is that humans love to talk about themselves. So when you expose yourself to these new spaces, you're in front of these new faces, and you utilize your curiosity, the conversations and the connections come easier. So that's one thing that I've learned in terms of exposure. But the ultimate result is that, your level of success is determined by the level of exposure you have for yourself. And Kev, I want to ask you, because you're one that has been in a lot of rooms, and you've been around a lot of successful people, so I would say, what is one thing that has helped you or continues to help you in terms of, navigating unfamiliar rooms or unfamiliar spaces?
So I do want to give a little bit of context on why you said that first. So my biggest moment of exposure was up and then moving to Los Angeles. Los Angeles was the polar opposite of what I was used to, but it was always a dream of mine because I knew that's an industry where fashion thrives. Los Angeles has exposed me to so much from wealth. You see a dream car on a freeway in the Bay Area, and you go to LA, you see that on every corner in some areas. So it's kind of like that's been something I've been exposed to, abundance, a lot of different things. But there also is a flip side, right, where you're exposed to ego from certain people with certain statuses. You're exposed to, people doing drugs and things like that. But those things and seeing those things, it taught me that I had to know myself. Like I had to be comfortable with who I was and the man that I was, regardless of who I'm around, because out there, these buckets that you just mentioned, you can fall into those, especially the last one, influence. And you can be negatively impacted with that influence bucket. But I would say something that has helped me navigate these unfamiliar rooms or rooms with people that are successful is not being afraid to be you, right? If the whole room is going right, don't be afraid to go left. And I think that sticks out a lot more than going along and being a yes man and just feeding into people's ego. I've learned that like the most successful people that I know, they like when I give them friction rather than just going along with what they say, because they're always in a state of how can I become better, right? That's a common quality that a lot of people have that are on the path to growth, right? Who have a growth mindset. So, and what has helped me kind of just maneuver confidently in these rooms is, like you said, I don't place anybody on a pedestal. You can have, you know, 1 million followers, $1 million. You can have $500 million, right? If I know that I go and I speak to different schools, I make an impact on students. I'm teaching people on how to better themselves, whether it's networking, whether it's mentally. I'm not like I judge people based off like how many people they positively impact. I don't judge people based off of what they have and things like that. So I think when you step in these rooms and you treat these people normal, and you get to see like the true value of a person by judging them by their heart, right? Judging them by, again, how many people they impact. Then you kind of, that whole fallacy of you're better than me or you're higher than me, that leaves completely. And now we're just having a common conversation amongst individuals. So that's definitely helped me.
Man, and also too, you know, just to combine curiosity with exposure. Once you get into these rooms, you understand that the highest paid or the person with the highest net worth navigates with the highest level of curiosity. That's an important thing that I've learned too. You know, they say the loudest person in the room is often the weakest person in the room, and I've encountered that a few times. You know, the high net worth people are really super quiet, and they'll ask you about yourself before they get to telling you about who they are. So that's a gem for sure.
I fully agree with that. Fully agree. But before we move to the next segment, I do want to ask you a question. I love the way you broke down both curiosity and exposure. I do want to ask, just to give the audience here, how have both of those helped you in your journey of speaking?
Curiosity and exposure. Um, well, for me personally, it's helped me get access to different forms of or sources of information and sources of people, which have allowed me to just be a sponge. And, you know, I feel that the more knowledge you have, the more wisdom you have, the better you're able to impact. So, yeah, just navigating with curiosity and exposing myself to new things has helped me in that capacity of just being wise for my age.
Mm, I like it. It's a fact. So as we move forward, y'all, I know we're trying not to look at the time here, but let's get into a short review so that we don't lose you guys. So far, what we have learned is that curiosity is basically having the urge to seek the unknown or unknown territory, right? And in seeking these unknown territories, that then exposes you. That exposure leads to expanding your ideas, your network, and your perspective of knowledge. But I want to be very, very clear. Without this next segment and truly practicing this in everything that you do, you will never get the true value and gems out of these experiences that you encounter, right? You must be a student. So let's head into the next segment, which is being a student. So just like Jordan did, I want to give you guys a short minute to tell me, what is a student? What comes to mind? What words, what characteristics come to word when you hear the word student? I'll give you about 45 seconds. Boom. I like that one. Somebody said the magic one. Willing to learn. Hungry for knowledge, growth oriented. Okay, okay. Got a lot of activity in here. Catch up. Let me catch up. Someone who has an appetite for knowledge. Someone that learns new knowledge. Someone who's always open to learning. That's probably the closest one to the actual definition that I'm going to bring up. Good job. All right, we wrapping up. That was 45. So the first word, you guys had great ones, by the way. The first word that comes to mind when I think of a student is somebody that's coachable, right? A person that can be coached. And another word would be something like honest, right? I think a person that's honest, you have to be honest in what you know so that you don't pretty much create a distorted perspective, or you can distort the perspective of the person trying to teach you, right? So you have to be honest. And another word I would probably say is probably receptive. Yeah, I would say somebody who's receptive to that knowledge, similar to what a lot of you guys said. So I took it a step further, right? And I looked up the word coachable, since that was the first thing that came to mind. And the definition of coachable is literally being open to learning and improving, and having the ability to use feedback to make changes. Now, that's something I would get tattooed. That's a gem right there within itself. I'm not gonna lie, because it breaks down so many valuable things within such a short phrase. So I'm gonna say it again. Being coachable is being open to learning and improving, and having the ability to use feedback to make changes. So, are you being open to learning? right? These are questions we got to ask ourselves. Are you open to learning and improving? Are you receptive to feedback? Or do you kind of condemn anybody who tries to tell you the truth or tell you their perspective about what you've done or things that you do? And I'll be honest, I wasn't always receptive. Like, I'll be super transparent. I wasn't always receptive to feedback. I used to think it was almost like a personal attack at my character. And it took for me to start to encounter the same issues over and over and over again to where I just got the bright idea like, hey, maybe try to learn or do something different, be open to different opinions and thoughts and ideas, and you'll get different results. As soon as I started to do that, my whole life started to change. I never ran into the same issues, right? Because you have to always be willing to almost throw away certain beliefs. If they're not working for you, throw it away. And it's fine to do that. It doesn't hurt your ego, it doesn't make you a bad person or any of that, right? So this slide here kind of breaks down before we go back to the what you call it definition. I want to go into this quote right here because this one right here I think is a perfect breakdown of, I guess, the balance in between life and a student, or the teacher and a student. So a teacher is never a giver of the truth. He is a guide, a pointer to the truth that each student must find for himself. That is by Bruce Lee. I would say that's the key to a fulfilling life, right? Because life is never just going to give you the answers. It's like, I know we all can agree we want $1 million, or we would like $1 million, right? Somebody just gave you $1 million. Life is not going to drop that $1 million in your lap. But what life will do is guide you to gain the knowledge, to get the connections in the network, to get the perspective and experiences in order to earn that $1 million. And that's one thing I had to grasp. Nothing is going to get given to you. Like, the truth and answers are never given to you. You have to be a student. You have to go out there and learn and get them yourself. But I want to go into this student mindset and break it down just a little bit more. A student also does not operate in ego, right? It's a great quote by the great Erykah Badu. She said, "A man that knows something knows that he knows nothing at all." If y'all never heard that was a gem, right? That's why I like older music. And I'm a firm believer in that. You know, I think going back to Jordan's diagram where he was talking about curiosity, we may think we know a lot until you step into a bigger world or a bigger environment where you like, oh wow, like I really didn't know anything. I just knew what I was raised up believing, right? And I think this journey, I'm sure Jordan can agree, has been a lot of unlearning more than learning, in my opinion. But another thing that the student does is ask the most questions. Back to the other phrase, closed mouth does not get fed. And this is something that I learned even in school. I used to be afraid to ask the questions. I used to feel like people would laugh at me, whatever the case may be. But then I started to realize the person with an A in the class, they're asking the most questions. They're going to the teacher, hey, I didn't understand this. Can you break it down for me? And I had to realize, oh, you have to be open to asking the right questions, because none of us have life down to a T. None of us know life perfectly, right? So you have to be open to asking the questions and not trying to get an A in life. You also got to be open to different perspectives. This goes back to the ego thing, right? And I think I've experienced this in my industry because I literally used to have a situation where every time I would design something, I would spend the ones that I spent the most time on, like I'm not putting this out for the next 3 months because I'm just working on it. I would put it out and get 0 sales. It crushed me, right? I'm like, why? I spent so much time on this. And the things that I just was like, whatever, put it out, was the best sellers. People requesting it. You know, I make the most money ever in 1 month just off that one design that I didn't even spend a lot of time on. And I think I just had to kind of free up my mind in trying to be perfect. I couldn't continue to try to be perfect because it would box me in. and I would lose the quality of my designs, of my experience and things like that. Last but not least, a student carries a strong interest in people and being of service. You'd be amazed at what you experience and what you'll learn from just having a conversation with a stranger. And I've had countless opportunities to meet new people and actually gain mentors just based off having an interest in people, asking the right questions, and sometimes just offering service to people, you know? So as far as this being a student segment, I think how can being a student help you with public speaking? It teaches you to not put your value on trial when you make mistakes. Again, you're no guru. None of us have life down perfectly, right? And honestly, being a student opens up this next segment, which is mentorship. And again, I had a video for you guys on this one as well, but the slide is being a little funny style, so we're not gonna be able to play it. I'll break it down. But a quote that breaks down mentorship for me is the easiest way to bypass hardship and mistakes is to learn from others who have already made them. I personally wasn't a huge advocate of mentorship or a believer in it until Jordan started to get at me. Me and his relationship was very honest. And he was like, why are you not leaning into mentors? You're bumping your head here, you're bumping your head there. What are you doing? And I had to really check myself. And this was recently. I had to check myself and say, wow, like there are people around me with a lot of value, right? So my experience with mentors has been pretty big after I started to cater a lot of energy to it. And I want to tell y'all how I met my biggest mentor to date. I was in LA. I went to, I think, an album release party by an artist named Larry June from San Francisco. I see a lot of people here is from Cali, so y'all got to know him. And I just honestly went there I knew the line was way too long for me to stand there and try to get a signed album. So I'm like, all right, I tapped my business partner, like, let's work the line, man. Let's network. Let's get the word out there. A lot of the demographic that his music caters to is the same demographic we kind of sell clothes to. So we won there, but started to talk to a lot of people. And in the midst of a conversation, an elderly woman, her bag hit the back of my business partner's leg. And so, you know, he turned around, of course, and that kind of sparked the conversation between them. He went into telling her about the brand, right? This is being a student as well, because we don't operate in ego and say, oh, that's not our target audience. We're not even gonna talk to her, right? We give everybody the time of day because you never know who you're meeting. And this is prime example. We talking to this woman, telling her about the brand because I seen him. I walked over and she's like, oh, really? Okay, well, my husband's right here. Her husband walked out of the store next door to the album release thing. He comes and he says, hello. And she's like, yeah, we just actually exited our fashion company. I said, exited? Like, if you're in business, you understand exited means they sold their entire company. And so I'm like, exit? What do you mean? She's like, yeah, honey, how much did we sell it for? Just super calm. And he's like, 255 million. $255 million. I tried to reenact his voice. I can't. But $255 million they sold their company for just a few years ago. And this is within my industry. Since then, they have become my mentor. I've been to their house. And they open their doors up to me. And that's actually what this video was saying, is that you, for one, you attract mentors because they see something in you, right? And they see that they can learn something from you just as much as you can learn from them. And I think that's how you attract a mentor, just being simply a student, like asking questions, being interested in other people, being able to give a elderly woman the time of day because you never know who you're speaking to. So I also want to say a mentor isn't always going to be glamorous. Like, never judge a book by its cover, because although, yes, I met my mentor who is worth what he's worth or sold his company for whatever, I've had mentors that I sat in a barber chair and they were just talking to me and gave me real game, whether it's in life or business. So it's like, I don't really say a mentor has to fit in this box. Even back to my son, I learned from him in those moments. I learned to have a childlike curiosity, level of curiosity. So don't think that your mentor has to be some glamorous figure, things of that nature, you know? And I want to sum that up by saying, how this improves your public speaking abilities is because it removes your ego. When you have a person that is doing way better than you in life, right? Willing to still give you the time of day, still try to learn from you, you start to realize like, oh, okay, like let me calm down. Let me make sure that I'm being a student as well at all times because this person really didn't have to give me his time of day, you know? But I know Jordan, since you are a big advocate of mentors, I do want to hear from you. I want you to drop some gems on your experience of mentors.
Man, we could revert back to the student slide too, because I feel as if being a student is what got me to getting my mentors. So my short story was, I went to a business class one day that I got invited to, and I found myself sitting in front of the two successful Black men from Oakland, California, and they were both multimillionaires. So as soon as I seen that, I was in disbelief. So from that moment after the class, I made I negotiated with myself that I was going to do any and everything in my power to get in the presence of those men right there. So from that moment, I showed up to one of the mentors' offices every Friday for an entire year, just being a student and asking him questions. So from Monday to Thursday, I would prepare questions. And then Friday, I would show up to his office and he would make about an hour to an hour and a half. He would make some time for me to just sit down with me and answer my questions that I had. So when you speak on being a student, that's like second nature to me. Again, 20 years of my life I spent as a basketball player. So when the ball was removed, I had to find a different type of hunger. And that's how my student mentality settled in. You also touched on ego. I know ego death or removing the ego is better said than done. I feel that the ego battle is one of the hardest battles in life because we need our egos to survive to a point. So I think when you speak on the ego, it's important to just be aware of that and be aware of what settings it plays a part in your life and making sure that you subsidize your ego with humility. Because if you don't subsidize it with humility and you're not a student, a mentor is not going to spend their time a day in correcting you and giving you the game. But in terms of mentorship, I think that is super important because it accelerates the learning curve for you. And going back to the exposure slide, once you expose yourself to the mentor, I think that, like you said, it's not glamorous because it's going to attack the mindset and the behaviors that don't serve you at that level. So it's going to be hard. My relationship with my mentor is kind of like a love and hate, but it's always a respect there because, again, he's accelerated my learning curve and he lacing me with tons of wisdom. So that's just my perspective on being a student and mentorship.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah. If you guys haven't heard of them, 510 Media, I recommend you guys at least look into it, man. It's been something that definitely, I mean, Jordan just admitted that it changed his life. Definitely changed mine as well. A lot of knowledge there. So let's see here. We can head into obstacles and then start to wrap it up. Go ahead. I'll let you take lead on this.
Okay. Obstacles are, for me, obstacles are the biggest detour to self-identity, depending on what role you allow obstacles to play in your life. So, in my opinion, when it comes to speaking and networking, you have to have a sense of knowing who you are. You have to have a sense of confidence. And I know it's easier said than done, but I believe that the way you handle your obstacles in life determines the person you become. And I don't know how many people I've heard the saying, the only guarantees in life are death and taxes. But if I had to add one thing to that phrase, I would add obstacles because obstacles are just guaranteed. It is what it is. Everybody goes through them, everybody experiences them. But I just recently reached a point in my life where I've come to understand that there's two ways to respond to obstacles. And as you can see on this slide, number one is being a victim or being victimized by your situations and circumstances. And number two is being a victor of your situations and circumstances. I think this is important because, when we talk about networking and speaking, again, there has to come some sort of self-confidence. So I believe that the victim route is the most common route that we take when faced with obstacles, because as you see the bullet points, victimization is the path of least resistance, right? When you're victimized by your obstacles, you essentially remove ownership from yourself and you lack control of your situation. So with that being said, you're able to blame everything outside of you. Again, going back to my journey, when that traumatic injury happened, I blame God because I removed control of my situation. I removed ownership of my life. And I didn't understand why God would allow something like this to happen to me. So like many say, people are under this mindset that the world is happening to them, right? Again, being victimized of your obstacles. But I had to make a shift in my life. And we all have to make that shift when faced with obstacles. And that shift is being a victor of your circumstances. So to be a victor of your obstacles, it requires ownership and it requires control of your life. Because with ownership, with control, you now have a sense of awareness on how to navigate. And I think it's important to always understand this because every obstacle or every storm that you face in life, there's always a lesson. There's always a tool that you can pull from that situation and circumstance. So obstacles are very important. And I recently just read yesterday, I speak on self-confidence a lot, but I recently just read that a lot of times people believe that confidence comes from your successes, but confidence doesn't come from your successes. It comes from your ability to survive your failures. So that was just super game. And I encourage everybody on this Zoom to just realize that and understand that. Maybe write it down. Confidence doesn't come from your successes, but it comes from your ability to survive your failures. But Kev, I know you, like I said, we on our journey, and we're continuing to navigate just different shifts in our lives. So I want to ask you, what are some of the obstacles that you've encountered recently? I know we talked about it, but what are some of those obstacles and how did you overcome them? And what success did you pull from that, or what game did you get from that?
Man, that was a beautiful breakdown too, like the victim versus victor for sure. I love that. Most recently, I'll be honest, and I had a manufacturer actually like run off with like $6,000, right? So I paid them for a project, never got my product, and they closed down, right? So of course, dealing with the whole legal side, but I essentially went into that same space that you said you did when you got injured, and I went through the whole why God phase, like why would you even allow this to happen, type of thing, and it took me a while to build myself out of that. But I think as soon as I took radical responsibility and was just like, okay, let's be honest here, I sent that money, right? Nobody forced me. Nobody, forced me to send my money or forced my hand to send that money. I sent it without these levels of protection in mind. So I think for me, it just taught me to, of course, put more levels of protection as far as contract things in that nature whenever I'm dealing with money. And it also taught me that, again, although things happen to me, it may not always be my fault, but it is my responsibility. This is my life, so I have to take accountability of that. So yeah, that was my most recent experience though.
That's that radical responsibility. I like that one. Y'all got to write that one down too. It may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility to overcome.
Fully. So I think this is our last slide here. We'll just give them a brief breakdown of how all of these things that we just taught and went into led to us speaking. You want to take lead on this? Or you want me to go first?
Got it. You got it.
Cool. So, in all honesty, like I said in the beginning, I didn't wake up and say, I want to be a public speaker. I think this was something that chose me. And I think it was just a cultivation of all the experiences that I have, right? The first person that gave me an opportunity to speak was Foot Locker. They pretty much wanted me to come on and speak about my journey. Like I told you guys, my brand is Yang, which stands for Young and Naturally Grinding, and we're mainly known for documenting our process of building our business, showing people the downs and the ups, right? Yeah, we're partnering with Foot Locker, but look, we in this small room with thousands of units sweating and working at 3 in the morning. All right. So people love to see that. And I think Foot Locker, with them knowing that we went through the bumps and bruises of building this brand, they wanted us to speak on that. And it made me realize that there's value in those challenges and overcoming, as Jordan said. So with that being said, they brought me in and let me speak to a program called SF City Kids and My One of One in San Francisco. And it was from, they pretty much cater to underprivileged communities in the area. And yeah, they wanted me to just tell my journey. And I was just like, is this a thing? Like people really sit down and listen to this? And it took for me to realize, like, yeah, because you spent countless nights, countless hours, countless dollars to learn these lessons. So what you need to do is help others in building the mentality that it takes to overcome those challenges, and also give people the knowledge that you've learned since you have made those mistakes. And I think since then, it's kind of just been like, it's been life changing, NCRF, they've given us many opportunities. They've given me many opportunities to speak to different people, put people on game when it comes to the branding space. I'm just honored, man. I'm just honored, and I love what I do. To me, it's not about the money. It's more so just about the impact. So that's what I'll say my story is in the speaking world.
Man, okay. Telling my story. How did I get into that? Like I said, I mentioned my mindset shifting a lot. So my story I had to make the decision to tell my story first and foremost. And it took a lot from me because I feel as if I've been through a lot. My journey was super unorthodox. So I just started thinking about, what type of impact did I want to leave behind before it was my time to leave the world. And that's kind of what put the battery in my back to, of course, like I said, create my book, The Sports Tunnel, Every Athlete Dies Twice. And then me just speaking on that snowballed into me making reels on Instagram. And my reels on Instagram gave me the confidence to take on new opportunities to speak in front of athletes. And then people started to listen to my speeches, and more opportunities came from that. So I didn't just go into wanting to tell myself, and I know a lot of people, they might want to speak and things like that, but my journey as my hoop career, was super unorthodox. And I just feel as if you have to take the steps to expose yourself. You have to have self-confidence. And ultimately, you got to know what you want, or know why you want to tell your story. So at the end of the day, I want to change or shift the mindset of student athletes. So that's my goal. And I feel as if, that's my calling on my life. So I'm working towards it, and yeah, we to the top.
Most definitely, man. So yeah, that ends, I believe, the entire workshop.
Well, yes, go ahead,
Oh no, I was
Kevin.
gonna say, please, we
No,
are
no, no,
here
no, no.
for
If
feedback.
they have what are these QR codes before we, and then I want people to ask questions and make
Yeah.
comments. Mhm.
So these QR codes these are where you can give us feedback. Let us know how we did, where we can be better at. Trust me, you're not gonna hurt our feelings. We are used to this and we embrace it. So please, if you can, scan the QR codes and let us know how we did. And if you cannot scan the QR code, you can always follow us on social media. This is our websites, our emails as well, if you ever wanted to get in contact with us.
All right, you guys can screenshot that real quick if you can.
Yeah.
Just give that a few seconds. And while we're waiting, we'll after that we'll go back to the QR code so they can see that too. any questions, comments, please, you can definitely come off mute and ask questions. I thought this was phenomenal, the way you guys slowly progressed into like your story, and it was very transformative. It wasn't like I'm watching public speakers and I'm sitting in a room, and it was less yada yada yada. It's more so like two gentlemen having a conversation and how they became, how they made it easier just by opening up. My takeaways is I love that confidence quote, doesn't come from your successes, it comes from you or when you survive your struggles. I like that. That's the truth. Because you have to really break through and push through. And I want to hear from others. I want to hear. Tisa, you said it's awesome. Thank you for coming today. Do you have any other comments? Do you have any questions? What kind of public speaking? Another thing is you got to find a niche of what kind of conversations you're supposed to have. I mean, I'm a public speaker also, and this is one of the reasons why I curated a series called How to Land Your Dream Job, because public speaking is what I do. And yeah, you have to find something that you can speak well of, even if you're learning still. Yes, we can provide video. Yes, we can. There's some links in the top of the chat that can actually show you, what ways to get the video, but we are also going to have it at our NCRF TV network. Let's see if I'm typing it in wrong. NCRF TV on YouTube. That's another way to get it. You
Are
can
they referring
subscribe.
are they referring to the interview links?
Can you provide links to the video? Oh, yes, the interview. It probably so. Green River, what's your name? I'm sorry. I don't want to call you Green River. That's a college. What's your question?
Can you provide links to the videos? Because you had the actual Obama video,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the other video of the young gentleman. So we would like to potentially
Yeah,
look at those videos as well. The one from Pivot.
yes. Okay. Kevin and Jordan, you have to give those links when you can.
Yes.
Does your students have any questions over there at Green River College?
That was it.
That was it? Who wants to be a
That was
public
the question.
speaker? Okay. All right, that was it. Okay.
Yeah, I can
We
links.
yeah, you could type questions in the chat, and love the authentic stories that normalize struggles and encourage persistence and courage. Thank you, Susan, for that comment. Our YouTube channel is NCR TV, and you'll find the series on there. We also have one about the Entrepreneurs Academy, which we featured Kevin talking about how to start and brand your business. So if you're interested. And we have more to come, more series. We did have a question up earlier in the chat. We're gonna close everything out by 5:30. So just so you know, don't feel any pressure. It says, I measure my growth. Oh, that's what you said, Jordan. I love that quote too. Oh, this is from somebody, I can't pronounce your name. I don't want to say it wrong, but do you track your growth when you are applying your manager or mentor's feedback? How would you answer that question?
Yeah, I feel as if my growth is measured in a few ways. My mentors always communicate what they say, your performance is measured by your bank account. So that's one key gem that they gave to me. But just for me personally, I believe that the conversations I have and how I navigate certain obstacles and conversations is kind of how I determine growth. For me, I work in sales, so I'm in a high stress environment, so I have to perform. So my ability to, like Kevin said, diminish my ego and just get to the win is kind of how I measure myself from day to day, outside of just emotionally and physically. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
All right. Any other questions? I definitely want to take the time to make sure you guys are getting all your questions answered. Okay.
That's when you know you did the job. No questions.
You know what? That means you said a lot. They said that I want to say thank you. And while you guys are singing your praises, definitely, hopefully you guys filled out the QR code link so that you can give Kevin and Jordan their feedback. I'm going to share with you guys the screen before we close out, and I'll stay on if you guys have any questions that were outside of, you just didn't want to share it out loud. We, on our internship and careers page under our the collegeexpo.org, you could find it under programs, internship and careers, and then if you scroll, you'll find our How to Land a Dream Job series. These are also our partners who have internships available. We have things from T-Mobile, from Active Minds in the mental health space, from our Casualty Actuarial Society, Comerica Bank, HP, if you're interested in being a nurse practitioner, MP student, of course, the Navy and the Army, Toyota, Uber, cybersecurities, apprenticeships, and USA Jobs, which is the federal website for all jobs in the United States government, and more, Wells Fargo, WSS. But our How to Land a Dream Job series, real quick, we also have terminology for free. We're in a course right now from 18 and up. You can definitely go to that link and fill out that form. But our How to Land a Dream Job series, we're going to have some more. Do you have a question? I'm sorry. Okay, somebody just jumped
There's a
on.
question in
We
the
just
chat,
finished today's second
Denise.
session.
There's a
Okay,
question
go
in the
ahead, read it.
chat.
Go ahead and read it.
Are these paid internships?
Yes, 90% of our internships are paid. I would say 90%. They are on occasion. There are some that are not. Some are starting at, of course, minimum wage based on the area, location of where you're located, and then some even go up to $25 to $30 an hour. But you have to meet the criteria, the qualifications. I cannot get you the job. I can only provide the resources too. We do know the companies that are listed on our website because they are our partners or sponsors of our organization and events. But that being said, you still have to meet the requirements and the qualifications for anything. And there may be very specific to your age or demographic of where you live or your level of classification of school, or if you are available in that space where the internship is. And most of them will not be virtual, they'll probably be in person, but there's a variety of ways. As you can see, session 3 is coming up soon. It's mapping out your career path, and that's going to be featuring our special guest with T-Mobile, and it's at 1 p.m. on the West Coast time. So please check your time zones to make sure that you are not, if you're not in Pacific Standard Time, you can figure that out and mark your calendars. You can register on our website. It'll be the same platform through a Zoom on Eventbrite to sign up. And then we also have session 4 on Interview Like a Pro. And that's another one from T-Mobile. So that will close out our series for this year. And I hope that this is a great starting point for you guys. And we can see you on our platform one day sharing your story and speaking at an event that we're doing. That's how I met Kevin. And I liked what he said. And I was like, I like it. Let's go.
This is true.
So, yeah, so there's no further questions. I'm going to stop recording, and I want to say thank you for joining us.